couple of more basic formatting applications with Google Sheets. We're also going to show you how to create a chart using the data from your Google Sheets. Now, the first thing is if I look up at the row 3, you can see that my columns are not quite wide enough. The M in team winds up wrapping below. And so I may have showed you this previously, but I'm just going to show you how to make the columns a little bit wider. And I'm going to actually do that for each of these columns here. So I click on the A and I highlight all the way across through J. And the reason I click on the letter is that highlights the entire column going down. And then I'm just going to hover my cursor. You'll see it might look like a hand if I'm hovered in the middle. And I'm just going to hover between any two columns. So in this case, B and C, but I can do this between D and E also. All right, and then I'm just going to stretch this just a little bit. And that makes this just about wide enough. I'm going to take it out just a little bit wider so right about there. Okay, and what this does is it makes all of my columns an equal width. And that works out pretty nice. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come down to the bottom here. All right, the entire file that we're using is called a workbook. Down below, we have one sheet, but we're going to also add another sheet. Before we do, we're going to retitle this sheet. So I'm going to click that little arrow, and I'm going to hit rename. You could also just double click on the sheet name, and that also highlights the name. And we're going to call this Data Table A. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take this table, and we're going to convert this into an analysis table, which will help us with our creating our chart. And so if you click that little arrow, you can see that you can duplicate a sheet. So we're going to head and duplicate that sheet. Okay, and we're going to rename it to Analysis Table A. Okay, for our data analysis. Now, in a previous video, you found the average time for each rocket, right? Using the 5 different teams, the time from 5 different teams, you use that to find the average. So what we're going to do in this table is we're going to teach you how to hide some of this data. We can't just delete it, because if I delete it, right, you can see if I delete all of that, I get an error, right? Because the computer can't use that formula anymore to calculate data because there is no data in those cells. So I'm going to undo that, Control Z, and I'm going to hide this data. This way I don't adjust my average time or my average speed. To do that, you click on the rows that you want to hide, or the columns. In this case, it's the columns, column D, E, F, G, and H. And if I 2-finger touch on my mouse pad, you'll see I get this list of different commands. And I'm looking for the one that says hide columns. And when I hide columns here, you can see each team's time disappears, but my average time in seconds and my average speed does not get touched. Right, so again, I highlighted D, E, F, G, and H. 2-finger touch on my mouse pad. I'm not really clicking. I'm just 2-finger touching to bring up this. And then I'm going to hide columns. So here I am, hide columns D through H. And they get hidden. Okay, so this didn't affect my average time or average speed. All right, and the last thing I'm going to do is, just because this is the analysis that I want to highlight, I'm going to highlight those cells. So I'm in I4, J4 down to J6, and I'm just going to put some fill color in there. I'm going to use like a light yellow 2, just so that the analysis stands out a little bit more. Okay, so now we have a data analysis table. I think I'm going to have to wrap the text now, because you could see as I shrunk that, this sort of changed my title. So I'm going to row 1 a little bit wider. And I'm going to come over here to the wrap text. I'm going to wrap the text in there. And now instead of table A, we're going to call this analysis table A. Okay, so now we have two sheets, data table A. I'm actually going to call this data table A too. And we have analysis table A. Okay, let's call this B, analysis table B, so we don't get confused. All right, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to create a chart, okay? And we're going to compare the average time and average speed of rockets A, B, and C. All right, to do that, I'm going to click on and drag down. So click to highlight rocket, cell A4, A5, and A6. I'm going to hold my control button down, and this will allow me to select this data here in I3, J3, and all the way down. All right, so now I've highlighted this bit of column A and this bit of column I and J. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to look for my chart tool, which is right here, insert chart. Okay, and here I have my chart. And in the next video, we'll show you how to do some formatting to this chart. Before I do that, I'm going to click the three little dots and I'm going to move to own sheet. And you'll see I'll get another sheet. Okay, and this is going to be, we're going to call this chart B. Okay, that goes along with table B. Okay, so we'll call that chart B. In the next video, we'll show you how to do some basic formatting. Thanks for watching.